We hear this phrase all the time, right? Authentic living.
Oh yeah, it's everywhere, a total buzzword.
But it's one thing to know you should live authentically and, a completely different thing to actually do it when you're trying to please your boss or your family or just everyone online.
It's that constant fight, isn't it? The inner standard versus what everyone else expects from you.
Right. And that is exactly where today's deep dive comes in.
Mm.
We're looking at this visual guide. It's called Live by Your Inner Compass.
Mm.
And what really got me wasn't that it says follow your gut. We've all heard that. It basically argues that your gut right now is probably unreliable.
That's a strong take.
A very strong take. It says we have to recalibrate our whole system before we can even begin to trust our own instincts.
It sounds harsh, but I think there's a necessary truth there. I mean, the guide kicks off with this really clear rule. Look inward, not outward.
Okay.
Most of us, we run on these external feedback loops, likes on social media, a good performance review, a compliment.
Sure, that's how we know we're doing okay.
Exactly. But the guide argues that if your sense of satisfaction depends on that, on external opinions, you're building your life on really unstable ground.
So to find this inner standard, we first have to get rid of all the noise. And the guide is really specific. It lists 3 filters to remove what it calls the false self.
Yeah, these are the big blockers. First up is ego, the part that's always protecting our self-image. Second, you have vanity, which is just obsessed with how we look to other people. And third, the desire for approval. That's the one that makes us comply.
Okay, that's an interesting distinction between vanity and approval. So vanity is the appearance of your life, but approval is more about your actions, being seen as a good person.
Precisely. In someone else's rule book. And the guide says you have to actively filter all 3 out. Because it's only when you strip all that away, the ego, the vanity, the need for applause, that you can finally hear what's underneath.
And there's a name for that, right?
There is. The source uses a specific term for it. Busho.
Busho. That sounds like a Buddhist term.
It is. And in this context, it's defined as your true nature.
Yeah.
You could almost call it the divine part of yourself. It's the core signal that's left when the static of the false self is gone.
So how do you find it?
Well, importantly, the guide says you don't just stumble on it. You have to access it through mental focus, through meditation. It's an active process of retrieval.
Okay, so let's say we do the work. We filter out the noise, we meditate, we connect with this Busho. How does that actually apply to the real world? This is where the guide shifts into something it calls the practice of self-illumination.
Right. This is the audit phase. It's not enough to just feel authentic in a quiet room. You have to constantly question your path.
Constantly.
And it lists 3 specific areas to audit against your true nature.
Yeah.
Your work, your study, and your relationships.
Relationships. Wow. That feels like the hardest one to be objective about.
It is, for sure. But to make this whole process more concrete, the guide uses this brilliant metaphor. I think it's the best part of the whole thing. It calls it the license renewal.
I loved this part. It reframes your life choices like, what? Like a driver's license.
Exactly. Think about it. We renew professional certificates. We renew our driver's license to prove we're still competent.
But not our lives.
We just let our big life choices roll over like they're on auto pay. So the guide suggests a specific interval for this. Every 3 to 5 years. A full stop.
Okay. So every 3 to 5 years, you pull over and force a renewal on yourself. What are the criteria? What are we checking for?
You're checking 3 things. Your skills, your knowledge, and your character.
Skills and knowledge, that makes sense. Am I still good at what I do? But checking your character, that implies asking if the person you've become still aligns with that Bushin thing we found earlier.
That's it, precisely. It's a mechanism to catch yourself when you start to drift. Maybe your skills have grown, but if your character has been compromised to get there, you fail the renewal. You really shouldn't be operating that vehicle anymore.
And that all leads to the final piece of advice in the text, which is light your own flame of truth.
It sounds a bit poetic, doesn't it? But it's actually a warning about personal responsibility.
Meaning?
It means you can't wait for a boss or a mentor or even a partner to tell you your license is still valid. You have to be the one to light up your own path forward. If you're waiting for permission to change, you've already slipped back into the false self.
It's a really heavy idea, moving from a passive life where you just react to an active one where you are the sole auditor of your own existence.
It completely removes your ability to blame circumstances. At the end of the day, you are the DMV of your own life.
That brings us to a pretty tough question to end on.
The license renewal test itself.
Exactly. If you had to reapply for your own life today, right now, based on your current skills, knowledge, and character, would you renew your own license? Or would you have to revoke it and start over? Something to think about. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.